Cold tea from bark shavings was suggested by one healer to help the kidneys act. Lumbee mothers would often give tea to babies for thrush, a mouth soreness. Sugar was added to the tea by many Lumbee mothers and given to babies for hives or teething. Again, the anti-inflammatory properties of aspirin, and helps with pain too, analgesic properties. A cold bark tea was prescribed by Lumbee healers to purify the blood and to bring down high blood pressure. It's an interesting use. Resources of the Southern Fields and Forests, written in the 1860s, says the bark is astringent. At this time, it was being used in official medicine in the United States. They're actually quoting from the Journal of American Medicine, or actually, I think it was New York Journal of Medicine. It had for a long time been neglected, but in the article referred, the decoction is spoken highly of as an alterative and astringent in scrofula and cutaneous diseases. It is said to have been very successful in hematuria, in these affections producing beneficial results where all other means had failed. Scheck, in his Flora of the Carolinas, it's an older botany book here essentially in North Carolina and South Carolina, spoke of the alder tags as being of great service on account of their alterative powers. That's, again, it's sort of like tonic, by the way. It gradually brings you up to health, was what that word actually means. A decoction of the leaves has also been used to suppress hemorrhage. They have been found effectual in relieving dyspepsia. That's upset stomach, basically, burping and gas and all that, and bowel complaints. An astringent decoction may be made of the bark, leaves, or tags, acting also as a diuretic. A tincture may also be used. Poultices made of them were used as a local application to tumors, sprains, swellings, etc. The leaves are applied externally to wounds and ulcers. The inner bark of the root is emetic. The inner bark of the root, apparently, is the one that will make you throw up and has been given in intermittence. Intermittence is like ague. It's going back to malarial fevers, intermittent fevers. King's American Dispensatory of 1898 says, to the taste, tag alder is bitter and astringent. It powerfully increases retrograde metamorphosis and exerts a direct tonic action on the mucous surfaces, aiding digestion and assimilation. In other words, good for your stomach, good for your appetite, and helps you digest your food. It is a true catalytic and a positive anti-putrefactive agent. It means it's going to help keep wounds from getting infected. Locally applied, the decoction stains the skin. The drug stimulates the gastric mucous membranes and causes an increased flow of gastric juices. Applied to the mammae, that's the breasts, the leaves are said to decrease the lacteal secretion. It helps dry out milk. It is alterative, emetic, and astringent. So they go on to say that it was a much neglected but very important remedy. And scrofula, which I believe is like glandular inflammation, if I remember correctly. Probably have a different name for it these days, but also good for eczema, pustular eruptions, or pussing sores, essentially, boils and such. Administered internally, applied locally. We may expect from allness the best results. Used in impetigo, prurigo, herpes, scorbutus. All of these are diseases in which allness would be of great utility. Good for tetter of the scalp in children. We're talking psoriasis, essentially, psoriatic dandruff, itchy scalps, and such. Good in passive hemorrhages, especially in hematuria, for which a decoction of the cones has also been used. And they go on and on. Rather hard to read, but very informative. But I think you're starting to get the idea. I'll give you their specific indications, uses, and we'll catch up to modern times. The specific use of this remedy is to improve nutrition and increase waste. It is particular value in scrofula with feeble vitality and chronic skin diseases exhibiting a scaly or pustular eruption. Plants for future, modern use. Medicinal uses of alder. The bark is alterative, astringent, cathartic, febrifuge, and tonic. The fresh bark will cause vomiting, so use dried bark for all but emetic purposes. And that's what cathartic means. That's another word for saying it'll make you throw up. A decoction of the dried bark is used to base the swellings and inflammations, especially of the mouth and throat. The powdered bark and leaves have been used as an internal astringent tonic, whilst the bark has been used as an internal and external hemostatic against hemorrhage. The dried bark of young twigs are used, or the inner bark of branches 2 to 3 years old. It's dried for later use, harvested in the spring, dried for later use. Most barks are harvested in the spring, by the way. They just come off a lot easier when the sap's rising. Boiling the inner bark in vinegar produces a useful wash to treat lice and a range of skin problems such as scabies and scabs. The liquid can be used as a tooth wash. The leaves are astringent, galactagogue, and vermifuge, so the leaves will actually increase mother's milk. They are used to help reduce breast enlargements in nursing mothers. A decoction of the leaves is used in folk remedies for treating cancer of the breast. I was taught to say duodenum, now they say it's duodenum, so I keep stumbling over it. Esophagus, face, pylorus, pancreas, rectum, throat, tongue, and uterus. The leaves are harvested in the summer and used fresh. Rodale Herb book says that the bark is especially good, used as a gargle for sore throats, a decoction of the bark to induce circulation, check diarrhea, and as eye drops. Leaves are glutinous and used to cure inflammation. Fresh leaves applied to bare feet are said to be excellent for burning and itching feet. Very interesting. And used as a foot bath when brewed into a strong tea. Botany in a Day says that the bark is the most potent part. Live inner bark from our local alders quickly turns into a flaming orange-brown color when exposed to air. The color is from tannic acid. It is a brilliant and permanent dye. Some Native Americans even dyed their hair with it. Other species of alder may produce darker colors. Ours do around here, more like black. He's out. Thomas Elpo, I think, is in the Rockies. Medicinally, the alder can be used as a potent astringent for wounds, diarrhea, and so forth. Some species produce anti-tumor properties similar to birches. Very interesting. And finally, the physician's desk reference for herbal medicine, the big book the doctors would use, says of black elder specifically, the decoction is a tonic and has astringent and hemostatic properties. Hemostatic, it just means it helps stop bleeding. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, which may be due to the tannins, flavone glycosides, and triterpenes. Under unproven uses, it says black alder is used as a decoction for gargles in the treatment of streptococcal strep throat, in other words, and pharyngitis, and for internal bleeding. The bark is considered to be effective for intermittent fever. No health hazards or side effects are known in conjunction with the proper administration of designated therapeutic dosages. So that's your official statement on alder, and I think folk used to tell us that this is a very important tree, a very useful tree, definitely one of those first aid go-tos in your natural medicine cabinet. So start identifying the trees in your yard, in your neighborhood, in the local park, and if things get bad, here you got one that's going to help with bleeding, fevers, diarrhea, sores, so many different things. It's one of those trees that could come in be very, very valuable. Come in very handy, I guess is what I was trying to say. Anyway, y'all, have a good week, and I'll talk with you most likely next Thursday.
The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, do your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.